Hello. So in this module, we're going to be learning a little bit more about the grammar of our logical language. I've sort of gotten used to it informally, but we're going to have a somewhat more precise description of how it works in this module, and which we'll be then using in later modules. So in this particular video, I'm going to describe the grammar. In another video, I'm going to talk about something called informal notation, and then in the third video, I will show you how to break sentences down into their pieces. And in the last video, I'll be showing you how to. We'll be doing some of that in the logic program, and you'll see that that's quite straightforward. Okay, so let's learn about the grammar of our language. So we'll start with saying what the symbols are, and you know these. We have capital letters from P to Z, and those are our sentence letters, and we call those atomic because they don't have other sentences as parts. They don't actually have any parts, but in particular, they don't contain any other sentences. We have the tilde or the negation sign. We have the arrow or the conditional, and we have the wedge or the conjunction, and then of course we have parentheses. Those are all the symbols that we use in our language so far. So rules. So the rules are going to tell us which things are sentences. So every sentence letter, that's a sentence. If you have a sentence, like let's say P, but anything that's a sentence, if you put a tilde on the front, if you put a negation on the front, then you have a new sentence. So this doesn't say which is true or which is false or anything like that. It just says if this is a sentence, so is that. Also, if you have two sentences, circle and square, then if you put parenthesis and then circle and then arrow and then square and then a parenthesis, you have another sentence. Or if you put parenthesis and then circle and then the wedge and then the square and then another parenthesis, then again you have a sentence. And nothing else is a sentence. So the only way you can get a sentence is by applying these rules, and that's it. So what about P arrow Q? Well, actually, according to our rules, this is not a sentence. The rule says that if you have parentheses around a conditional, then you have a sentence. But P arrow Q, that's missing parentheses. We said it was a sentence. Well, it's going to turn out that it is a sentence unofficially, but officially it's not. And the reason it's not is because of parentheses. This raises the question, why is that? Why did we put in our rules this thing about parentheses? And it's because of ambiguity. So here's a sentence in English. Enraged cow injures farmer with axe. Okay, so that sentence is ambiguous. It could mean that the cow used an axe to injure the farmer, or it could mean that there's a farmer with an axe and that farmer was injured by the cow. And so it's ambiguous because that with axe, you don't know if that attaches to farmer or if it attaches to enraged cow. Okay, so our grammar, the sentences of English that we are working with are simpler than that one, but still, they can also have grammatical ambiguities. So Bob bakes or Sarah sings and Larry laughs. This is ambiguous. It might be a disjunction, an or statement. We'll learn more about those later, but it might be an or statement saying either Bob bakes or Sarah sings and Larry laughs. Or it could instead mean, no, it's a conjunction. It's both the case that Bob bakes or Sarah sings, and then also Larry laughs. And those say different things. The second one, the conjunction reading, where we treat it as an and, that tells us that Larry laughs. The first reading doesn't, because it's an or, and it could be true if Bob bakes, then that or is true, and the right conjunction needn't be true, and so it needn't be the case that Larry laughs. So those two readings have different meanings. The sentence is grammatically ambiguous, and that sentence of English is. The sentences of our logical language are not grammatically ambiguous. They're grammatically univocal. They have only one reading, one voice. What that means is that there's only one way if you have a sentence, there's only one way you could build it up using the rules. Okay, so to further understand sort of what grammatical ambiguity means, why our language isn't grammatically ambiguous, and to help us actually with symbolizations as well, I want to introduce the notion of a main operator. I'll sometimes say main connective, but main operator. And I'm going to give some examples first. So here we have the sentence negation P. What's its main operator? The tilde. Why? Well, because we took the sentence P and we put that tilde on the front to get this new sentence, the one we're looking at. Okay, how about the sentence tilde tilde P? What's the main operator? It's the leftmost tilde. Why? Well, because we took the sentence negation P and put another negation on the front of it. So again, it's the second negation, the one that we added to form the sentence we're currently looking at. P arrow Q, the main operator is the arrow. Why? Well, because we put it between the P and the Q and surrounded them with parentheses to build this. How about negation P arrow Q? Okay, here it's the negation. Why? Well, because we took the sentence P arrow Q and put a negation on the front to form the sentence that we're looking at. And how about this one? Negation P arrow Q, where here the negation is inside the parentheses. Okay, in this case, the main operator is the arrow. And why is that? Well, because to form this sentence, we took the sentence negation P, and we took the sentence Q, and we put the conditional between them to form the sentence we have. So those are some main operators. And so what is the definition of a main operator? Well, it's this. It's if we have a sentence, it's a complex sentence, it's not a sentence letter, then the main operator is the one that we last added in building the sentence that we're looking at. And another way of saying that is that we added it to two other sentences to form the sentence we're looking at. If the sentence we're looking at is a negation, or if the sentence we're looking at is a conditional or a conjunction, or if the sentence we're looking at is a negation, then we added the negation to one sentence. Okay, so each sentence of the language has only one main operator. That's what it means for the language to be not grammatically ambiguous. This also means that if you remove the main operator and the parentheses that were added with it, then you should be left with only one or two sentences. Two sentences exactly if you're removing a conditional or a conjunction, one sentence if you're removing a negation sign. And the main operator tells us what kind of the logical type of the sentence. It tells us whether or not the sentence is a conditional or a conjunction or a negation. So let's just see some main operators in English. I'm going to imagine the scenario, and then we'll look at two sentences. So imagine this scenario. I'm in a good mood. That means I'll be happy no matter what, and in particular, I'll be happy whether or not I have a cookie. So if I don't have a cookie, I'll be happy. That sentence is true. It's a conditional, right? Then that means its main operator is a conditional. It's a conditional who has a negation in the antecedent and a simple consequent. So the main operator of that is the if. Okay, you've already been intuitively looking at main operators in English when we've been symbolizing, and now we're getting explicit about it. So this is a conditional. It's a conditional because its main operator is a conditional, and it has a negation inside the antecedent. And now let's look at this sentence. It is not the case that if I have a cookie, I will be happy. This sentence is false, right? What does this sentence say? It says, well, imagine, if I have a cookie, I will be happy. So there's that sentence. If I have a cookie, I will be happy. That sentence is true. The sentence we're looking at is the negation of it, and it says that conditional is false. Well, no. The conditional is true, and so the negation of the conditional is false. Right? This sentence says, "Is having a cookie being enough for me to be happy?" No, it's not. But in fact, it is enough, and so this negation is false. Okay, and so the difference between these two sentences is what's the main operator. This is the negation of a conditional, so its main operator is a negation, and inside of that is a conditional. Okay, so we can. This is a way of describing what we've already been doing when we've been symbolizing, where when we symbolize, when we go down the tree, what we've effectively been doing is we look for, okay, where's the main operator? Symbolize that, bring the rest of the English down. Then look at the English pieces, what's their main operators, find those, and continue. So that's a use that we've been putting main operators to in our symbolization method, although we haven't been describing it that way. Now we know how to talk about it. We're also going to use this idea of a main operator to break down sentences of our logical language into their pieces to grammatically understand them, and I'm going to talk about that. But first, I need to explain how parentheses work, because I said a while ago, P arrow Q, that's not a sentence, according to the rules I just laid out, but we've been treating it as if it is. So how are we going to understand that? I'm going to talk about that in the next video.